Hello, beautiful people! Thank you so much for joining me today for my March wrap-up. I am very, very excited to be talking to you today about the 3 books that I read this month so far. I rated one of them 3 out of 5 stars, and I rated the other 2 5 out of 5 stars. Let's get right into it. Now, the first one is It's Not Like It's a Secret by Misa Sugiura. Now, this is actually the book that I rated 3 stars. The reason that it first caught my attention was because the story was about a queer girl. I'm always looking for good new LGBTQ reads, so I was excited to pick it up, but unfortunately I was just a little bit disappointed in the execution of the story. Now, this book is about this Japanese American girl named Sana. She moves from Wisconsin to California because her dad gets a new job. So she's dealing with all the typical new girl stuff as she's starting her junior year of high school. She thinks she's developing romantic feelings for one of her female classmates. She thinks her dad's having an affair and she doesn't know if her mom knows. She butts heads with her mom a lot because her mother is very traditional and Japanese in her way of thinking, but Sana is very modern, more westernized, you could say, and she calls her mom out on a lot of the problematic things she says. Sana's dealing with all these things as she's just trying to navigate finding her own identity as a girl who likes girls and as an Asian American, and as she's trying to find her place and where she fits in among her group of friends. You know, there's a lot of potential here for some good themes to explore. As you can imagine, the author explores the story of a young girl just trying to figure out her sexuality, and I appreciate that. It was very exciting for me to read a book where the protagonist was a queer Asian American girl, because I'm a queer Asian American girl, and it was just nice to see somebody whose identity intersected in those specific ways with my identity. I could definitely relate to some of her experiences flirting with her love interest. The author also has a lot of themes about racism in this book because most of the characters are either Asian American or Latin American. She has a lot of scenes where she shows the way that the teachers at the school interact with the students, or just the way that people in the community treat these different people of color just based on their racial backgrounds. I do think that there were some important conversations, and there were scenes where Sana was thinking about race in ways that she hadn't thought about before. The author introduced these ideas about sexuality and racism that were important, but I was distracted from these themes as the story went on because things just got so dramatic. It really made me feel like the plot was no longer grounded in reality. Like, I didn't like the direction that the plot was going. I didn't like the decisions that Sana was making. People are not this dumb in real life. I don't know. I just felt like I was watching a TV show. I wasn't reading a story that was really grounded in real life, and I didn't like that. I didn't like how the book ended. I wasn't really sure what the author was trying to tell me at the end of the book with the way that she wrapped things up. Overall, the execution of her story was really hurt by the way that she decided to tell this story. And I was also really confused because the author is a former English teacher, so she's taught at high school in Silicon Valley. Surely these girls and students that you talked to didn't have lives that were this over the top. Do I recommend this book? I mean, I was definitely enthralled. Like, I couldn't put it down because I really just wanted to know what happened next. Reading this book was like eating a bag of potato chips, if that makes any sense. It didn't offer any good nutrition or substance, but it tasted good. It's Not Like It's a Secret. 3 out of 5 stars. I'm much more excited to talk about Hank Green's debut novel. It's called An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. It was so good, you guys. I totally recommend this to anybody and everybody. And if you don't know what it's about, I think Tessa Violet put it in a very succinct and clear way in her Pillow Talk with Hank Green video. If you have read the book, please watch that video because it's really, really cool just to hear Hank and Tessa talk about the book that Hank wrote. I'm paraphrasing when I say this, but Tessa says that an absolutely remarkable thing feels like an examination of fame and what it does to the psyche, told through the lens of a sci-fi mystery story. Does that not sound super cool? Let's just deconstruct this a little bit. First of all, we have an examination of fame. So Hank Green, he's very famous on YouTube. He has been vlogging for many, many years and has gained a very large following, and he's had the opportunity and the means to start these cool things like VidCon and Crash Course and SciShow, of course, all alongside his brother, John Green. And I am so sure that Hank has had a lot of interactions and has been able to build friendships with other people who have built a large following on the internet and have gained fame because of YouTube. And I think that Hank Green's personal experiences has really allowed him to write a book that is filled with depth and complexity in its portrayal of what it is like to be famous in a really uniquely modern way. And I think that's really cool because, the way that social media and the internet and just the way that we communicate with each other is evolving so quickly. I think it's really cool that Hank Green captures this moment in time. Another thing that I think he did really, really well with the protagonist's character, her name is April May. She is so flawed. I think she's very self-aware of her own flaws, and I feel like that's why they stood out to me more than the average protagonist, I guess. She's retelling something that's already happened to her, so she kind of has this ability to look back on things in hindsight. I thought that all of her ugliest bits were honestly out on display for me to see. I feel like her character development was written so well, and it was so interesting but also really sad. It felt very realistic the way that she started viewing social media and numbers. It was interesting seeing her relationship with other people change and how people started viewing her not as a person but as this brand. And I just think Hank Green wrote that story very, very well. That's, the character development side. But then you have the plot, which is driven by this sci-fi mystery story. In Tessa Violet's video with Hank Green, he said that he had an idea for these 2 books, and he realized that he could make them one book and it would make both of the stories stronger. And I thought that was super cool because I think that he is correct. These 2 elements really did make the whole book stronger. The story had so many mysteries to be solved and so many puzzles that were being worked through by all the characters. And I absolutely could not put this book down. There was even a sort of spooky element to some of the things that were going on. I can't imagine anyone who would read this book and not be totally enthralled by the story and what's gonna happen next. I don't think that anything I'm saying hasn't already been said better. There are so many reviews on the back. It's all so accurate. This one by Catherine M. Valenci. This book is by turns joyful, devastating, personal, zeitgeisty, modern, classic, fast-paced, and thoughtful. An absolutely remarkable thing blew me away. I'm sorry, my favorite thing about that blurb is that she used the word zeitgeisty. It's totally accurate. Once I read it, I was like, yeah, this book is really zeitgeisty. 5 out of 5 stars. Please read it. It is so thought-provoking. It's so clever. Hank Green is a genius, and I cannot wait to see what he has next. The last one, another 5 out of 5 star book, is The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. Look at how big this thing is. It's gigantic. It's bigger than my face. I got the special illustrated edition, so that's why it is so large. I definitely recommend getting the illustrated edition. Look at that. Very hefty, and it was kind of hard to carry around, but honestly, this thing is so enthralling. Look. It's the Little Mermaid. Okay. The story is just so suspenseful and engaging that I was very motivated to carry it around wherever I was going. What is it actually about? I haven't said that yet. Well, it starts off with a literal bang, okay? The opening scene is of a murder. The curator of the Louvre Museum, Jacques Sonnier, has been shot and left to die right in the Grand Gallery of the Louvre. And his murderer is after this secret that he's protecting. So Jacques lied before he died so that he could lead his murderer down the wrong path, but he doesn't want the real secret to die with him. So he leaves like this series of hidden messages and clues around his body so that the right person can find them and be led to the secret that he is protecting. And the two people who end up going on this journey are his granddaughter, Sophie. She works for the cryptology department in the police force, so she already has a reason to be involved in the murder investigation. The other guy is this American professor named Robert Langdon. Robert Langdon specializes in symbology in art and history. He teaches at Harvard, and he was in Paris while all of this stuff was going down, and he's also the #1 suspect for this murder. Now, he's innocent, of course, and Sophie also believes that he's an innocent man, so she helps him escape from the clutches of the French police, and together they run as fugitives, while at the same time they're trying to figure out what Sophie's grandfather was trying to tell her before he died. This scavenger hunt of sorts, you could say. All the answers are like hidden in symbols, hidden meanings in like Leonardo da Vinci's artworks and architecture at different locations throughout Europe. It's a lot of fun, okay? Like, I am somebody who loves history. I love world history. I love art history. I don't love like the memorization and the testing aspect of taking a history class, but the subject itself I find so fascinating. I felt like I learned so much reading this book about like symbology, language and etymology, art and architecture and history. It's told in third person and there are multiple perspectives. So you have the A-plot, if you want to call it that, of Sophie and Robert running from the law while at the same time solving all these puzzles and riddles. You have the perspective of the people who are responsible for Jacques' murder, and you have the police who are trying to track down Robert and Sophie. I forgot how frustrating it is to read from this many perspectives. I was taken back to when I read The Heroes of Olympus by Rick Riordan, because they are told in third person multiple perspective. When you have a story that's written that way, it's very easy to just be following a certain storyline and it's getting very intense, and then you can just end on a cliffhanger and switch point of views, which is so endlessly frustrating, but also, I mean, it's a lot of fun. Dan Brown. Wow, Dan Brown really knows how to just dangle the carrot on a stick in front of his reader. He knows how to write suspense, and he knows just how long to wait before he reveals something. The answers to these puzzles aren't even the only thing that are being revealed. You know, you have things about the characters' pasts and their motivations that are being hidden and then slowly revealed throughout the storyline. And it was just amazing. I was on the edge of my seat. This was another book that I could not put down. Everything was just laced together in such an intricate and clever, interesting way. I really want to see the movie now, because as I was reading this, I could absolutely picture how this would be translated to the big screen. It was very cinematic in the way that it was written, for sure. With the illustrated edition, like, I really appreciated that I had pictures of all the art and architecture that were being mentioned. You could read the character's description of like a certain symbol, and then you could just look at the painting and be like, oh, there it is. That's cool. European architecture is so old and so interesting. I just want to go there and see it. That'd be so much fun. If you've seen the movie and you read the book, please leave a comment about it. I would love to hear what you think of the movie, if it's a good adaptation. My name's Jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself. Bye!